Live creatures, World War II references, this couture season felt a bit different. Costume was replaced by beautiful biased gowns, and body morphing silhouettes were everywhere. And of course, designers are still playing musical chairs. What I thought was really interesting this season is the designers were sort of playing with supporting structures, or lack thereof. At Victor and Rolf, they showed pairs of looks, one inflated with stuffing, and I guess like the deflated version following it. It's almost unbelievable that they're the same, and the contrast between the two looks, one being kind of comical and the other so beautifully feminine, is really interesting. Another designer who played this concept was Demna at Balenciaga. He watched his tailoring documentary about tailors in Naples and then decided to collaborate with one. So he sent this bodybuilder called John to go get fitted. Then he used the same pattern, but put on his regular slimmer models, including his husband. Demna said, "I want to underline this idea that's not the garment that defines silhouette, but the body that wears the garment." If you are interested in jacket drafting, I've just released a course on how to draft modern jacket collars, which is very different from traditional tailoring methods, and you can learn more about that in this video. I also love the shoulders on the women's jackets. Look how they tilt forward. It's a nice progression from his signature shoulders. Everyone is saying all these body morphing designs are a social comment on everyone using skin fillers. But anyway, when you morph the body and change the proportions, you need to use supporting structures. Check out the shoulders on this plastic Margiela top. Initially, I believed the magic and thought the pattern was doing it by itself, but if you look closely, you can see a plastic shoulder pads finishing the neckline. I should have known better. I haven't worked in couture, but I have worked as a pattern maker for Alexander McQueen, so I know that when you change the portions of the body, you need to create support structures. And I've written about the most common ones used on ready-to-wear runways for high-end designers in my Click to Pattern Kit guides. And so if this video is inspiring you to start getting creative, making your own designs, grab a copy and start creating some gravity-defying designs. What I love about couture is all the beautiful fabrics, and Irish van Herpen really stood out this season. Her opening look contained about 125 million bioluminescent algae. She also had these incredible weightless lattice-like structures and a resin-coated silk dress spiraling around the model. Plus, there are a couple of dresses constructed in clouds of fine metal mesh. I usually associate her with 3D printing, but she really outdid herself with these fabrics. Another thing I love about couture is the craftsmanship, and Dior's collection, as always, was stunning. Look at these beautifully tailored double-faced cashmere ensembles, and check out how low the crotches are. Maria Grazia Chiuri is now leaving Dior after 9 years and said that these are haute couture. You can only make these by hand. Some of the simplest things are the most difficult to make. And I couldn't agree more. While the mostly white collection is a bit more subdued than the others, there's nowhere to hide, and the craftsmanship is just so beautiful. You can really see the layering and supporting structures underneath too, like this corset and chill skirt. There were a couple of influences for this collection, and one of them was celebrating the life of the heiress and hostess Mimi Pecci Blunt. Mimi worked during World War II, and she was obsessed with organising concerts and performances to lift everyone's spirits and give everyone hope during such a terrible time in our history. Chiuri and her daughter, pictured here, had just finished restoring her theatre, Teatro di Cometa. They had hope in their hearts for the future. I think that is what art is. It gives hope in the future. World War II figures also influenced another designer this season, Schiaparelli. Daniel Roseberry's signature corseted gowns were replaced by beautiful bias cutting. Check out these bias trouser suits and 1930s-inspired evening dresses. Roseberry drew inspiration from Elsa Schiaparelli's Surrealist designs. I'm sure you all saw the beating heart necklace in the center image on your socials. What I thought was the most surreal, though, was how they managed to remove all the bust darts on these dresses. I know they're on the bias and these models don't have big busts, but how? My best guess is they molded and stretched the fabric while pressing it with an iron on a mannequin. You'd be surprised how much you can mold fabric, but even iron press they got rid of the darts completely. For 2025 Couture saw the debut of Glenn Martin's at Mesa Margiela, which I was very excited about. On the left is his first look, which is one of my favourite looks from this season. It felt like a natural progression for the Margiela brand. The collection was 1/3 upcycled, which is unusual for couture. They used junk jewellery, paper and recycled biker jackets, which is another Margiela feature. Martin's closed his own brand Y project earlier this year, which I was really sad about. So I'm excited to see what it is at Margiela, and you can see the influence of his signature deconstructed style in the collection too. As well as new beginnings, we said farewell to Demna, who's finishing a decade at Balenciaga and heading over to Gucci. Lots of historical references in this collection, including the black and white houndstooth skirt on the left, which is an exact replica of the 1967 one designed by Balenciaga himself. As well as Demna's muse, Kim Kardashian, she was channeling Elizabeth Taylor in this look and is wearing her diamonds. And there was a brand with no head designer or creative director, Chanel. Chanel's in-house team did this wintry collection themselves, which is inspired by Coco Chanel's love for the Scottish Highlands. We still got a Chanel bride though at the end, which you can see in the right image. Hope you enjoyed my Couture Week review. Couture is the ultimate slow fashion and proof that beautiful things do take time. If you're feeling inspired, check out my Mastering the Art of Draping video. It will show you how to turn even the craziest drape into a pattern, or my Circle Skirts Aren't Circle video. This will teach you how to use a design-led approach to creating circular skirts and ruffles. You can also purchase my DIY pattern making kits. Each kit has a block to use the base for your pattern, and then a guide to show you how to turn the block into any design based on it.